Since the Raspberry Pi 4B was announced with a quad-core 64-bit ARM Cortex CPU and up to 8GB of RAM, many have been wondering if the cheap single-board computer would make a good desktop replacement. Today we're going to test out a few apps on the Pi 4. GIMP, which is the open source Adobe Photoshop alternative, Blender, used for the creation of 2D and 3D animations in games, Inkscape, the open source Adobe Illustrator alternative, LibreOffice, which is basically an open source Office suite, so it's basically like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, and finally Chromium, an open source web browser, which is the same thing as Chrome, basically, just the more open source version, but there's really no difference, let's be honest. In this video, I will be using a Raspberry Pi 4 with 8GB of RAM and a clean install of Raspberry Pi OS Bullseye 32-bit. I just installed these programs from the terminal real quick. However, you can also install them through the add/remove software application if you want to. So first, let's take a look at GIMP. It loads up relatively quickly and pretty much everything seems to be smooth. I can quickly and easily edit whatever I want to on here. Now, overall, GIMP works very well on the Pi 4. Blender, on the other hand, does not work at all. It is a total flop. When I try to load it graphically, nothing happens. And when I attempt to launch it from the terminal, it spits out an error saying, "A graphics card driver with support for OpenGL 3.3 or higher is required. The program will now close." So, unfortunately, the Raspberry Pi's GPU only supports up to OpenGL ES 2.0, where we need 3.3 to run Blender. So, sadly, Blender is a no-go. Inkscape, however, also runs very smoothly. It loads up fast without any issues. With Inkscape on the Raspberry Pi, pretty much anybody could just get one of these and make stunning artwork on it. I mean, I would know because I used Inkscape to create the JPT merch. Price is starting at just $12, link in the description below. LibreOffice also works very well on a Raspberry Pi, which is, expected because it works on just about every single computer you'll ever try it on. And performance is very smooth and the load up time is respectable. Again, kind of expected. That works on pretty much everything. And finally, we will test Chromium performance. First, let's have a look at YouTube playback, because who doesn't want to watch cat videos, right? So it likes to start at about 480p, but it's a little bit shy. You need to make it be a little bit more confident. We can get it up to 720p and even 1080p. So first, let's try 720p. Now 1080. And we'll try skipping and scanning. So overall, 1080p is definitely watchable, but there might be a little lag depending on your Wi-Fi connection. So I would recommend 720p because it definitely gives you the best experience because it's the best resolution with the best speed combined. So that's what I would recommend. And just to test out games, because also who doesn't want to play games on their computers, Subway Surfers, which is a popular web game, does work very well on the Raspberry Pi. It performs smoothly without any lag. So overall, the Raspberry Pi is an adequate desktop replacement, especially for its really cheap price, and I would highly recommend it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.